Hi, welcome to One Word a Day. I'm Sophie, your pilot into the universe of Chinese. We are going to continue our journey in discovering one more Chinese expression a day. Yesterday, we talked about 笨手笨脚. We use 手 and 脚, hand and foot. Hands and foods, of course. Chinese doesn't distinguish the quantities over there. We use these two body parts to represent the whole body, because they are the very end and expressions of our limbs. So they are good point to check to find out if we are coordinated or clumsy. Okay, so today we have the opposite of clumsiness. We use 心灵手巧. Again, 手 appeared. But this time, instead of 脚, because a lot of times we use hands for works mostly. We don't really use foot at the same time. At least the hand is probably the most prevalent when we do things. That's the body part we use, right? Foot is more for mobility from A to B. And then once we get there, we stay there and start to use hands mostly. So it makes sense. We don't have 脚 represented in this phrase, but instead of 脚, we have a higher function of organ. 心 is our heart, and in ancient times, 心 was used as a proxy to brain, as a function of intellectual processing or information processing. So ancient times, I guess, the brain was not recognized as the place that we gather information, sense, and process our emotions, or simply information from the outside world, and heart instead, because it's the engine of a life, right? So Chinese use heart to represent the cognitive function as well. Okay, so heart, we have almost like a lobster-looking shape. I view it as the cavity, the main chamber of the heart. Of course, I mean, it didn't really show the heart's internal structure, just one big pump, right? Just one chamber, and then 3 tubes coming out of it. And I view it as the inward going tube and outward going tube, which is true, right? That's how the pump works. And then the third line would be the blood line to supply to the heart itself. So it's supplying its own blood, of course, right? So that's the basic structure of heart. Ling, I appreciate this character, this depiction of how basically that's Chinese way of spirit or soul. That's the expression. Whenever we want to get spiritual, we use ling. And of course, in everyday life, it's not like talking to the divine kind of spiritual, but it's even talking to the outside world. And I guess in the ancient society, a lot of times the outside world, like the mountains, the rivers, all of those natural settings, we can view it as they have their own spirit. So we're basically talking to spirit. That's perceived as a spiritual as well. But because humans interact with their environment, and that interaction, if they can successfully get in harmony with what's going on around them, and that's regarded as they are perceptive. It's not necessarily talking to the God in a religion sense, but talking to their environment or understand their environment. So that's regarded as Ling. Ling came from these 3 parts. The top is the rain. Rain is the major agriculture relevant element, because, okay, sun, the plants need the sun, right? But the sun is mostly constant over there. It depends on the season, different sunlight, but rain is the more volatile, uncontrollable, and also it's the volume you cannot control, the timing you cannot control, but these are highly it's almost like determining the crop, the harvest of this year. So mostly in ancient times, when what the practice is, the divine decoder or whoever have in this case, it's a ceremony to talk to the divine, is to pray to have the right amount of rain, the right timing of the rain. So it's almost like a praying for the best weather condition, right? And the rain symbol came from, horizontal line is the sky, and the vertical line means the spatial sense between sky and the human world underneath. And this arch is, again, the space to signify, is the space below the sky. And then the horizontal lines are raindrops. And 4 repeated raindrop pattern means a lot, because normally Chinese use 2 of them to mean quite some, and 3 is a crowd, right? A 4 is like all over the places. So that's that's the rain. And then in the middle, we have 3 repetitive signs of the mouth symbol. And the mouth symbol, you could view it as a chorus or a group of singers to pray, to make music, to sing to the sky, or sing to the divine, right? So that's a kind of humans' collective voice of pleading for good weather. And the bottom 3 horizontal lines connected by 1 vertical line, and make sure the vertical line doesn't go over to either end. That's important because otherwise it's another symbol. So this sign means jade trade. So basically each horizontal line symbolizes a jade disc. And just like 3 mouths means a crowd, a group of them, right? And 3 means a stack. It doesn't necessarily mean exact 3. A 3 is already a lot symbolically. And each jade disc is connected by a string. And so in ancient times, jade was regarded as, I guess, a precious stone kind. So they hold some inherent or perceived value for the society. And for people to pray for good weather, what they can offer besides animals offering, the prized jade in that society, like that's what the society value as the most valuable, precious, human-made. It's from nature, but perfected or smoothed out by craftsmen. So they use that as an offering to, I'm giving you the best of from my society. So please, in exchange, almost like a trade, right? In exchange, please give me favorable weathers. So that's the whole thing. Is a kind of the purpose is to have good weather, and the way they do it is they sing together and then provide the best offerings from the earth. So that's kind of a communication with the divine, with the weather, with the uncontrollable, but it's determining almost your year well-being for the whole society. So that's the origin, and eventually this character was used as individually have a good sense of the environment, to be perceptive of the environment. That's regarded as a ling as well. So shou, we have 5-finger hand, very vividly depicting the major structure of a hand. And qiao, I translate it as a dexterous. So dexterity is mostly related, or dexterity is the major performance measurement for the hand, right? If the hand is dexterous, can complete tasks successfully, right? So if they do, we use qiao. And qiao came from 2 parts. One is a tool that's a symbol of craftsmanship. It's 2 horizontal lines connected with 1 vertical line. And you see all these, it's like so simple structure, right? But it symbolizes different things. And this is the ancient tool to create perpendicular angle, because in house building, or I guess to cut fabric, in a lot of things, to have the right angle, 90-degree exact is super important. So that's the tool created to make sure you're going to draw the lines perpendicularly correct. And so that becomes craftsman symbol. And the right side is, it's a symbol to mean airflow. So this is my recent new realization of Chinese culture symbol. So a lot of times it's viewed from human perspective, right? That's like a non-brainer, of course. But I also view from the perspective of your eyes standing from here, and the upper lane means going further out, and the lower lane, like toward here, it's more closer to you. So spatial sensely, this vertical line is kind of a mapping the horizontally, is it further away or closer to you actually. So this sign actually means here is closer to you, the speaker or the language user. So here, the airflow goes out, so kind of horizontally going out this way. And because it's air, it's not going to go straight line, right? So there is this puff going this way, and then there's a blocker to that air. So this blocker is mostly a super simplification of our pronunciation in the mouth. So the airflow from the channel in the mouth have to go through the narrow or the various opening of created by the lips, the teeth, and the tongue, right? All these, I mean, the teeth is non-movable, but the lips and tongue, they are mobile, right? So they change shapes all the time so that we can pronounce different sounds, different vowels and consonants, right? So this blocker basically is the gate from inside the mouth to the outside of the mouth. And this air flow is from your own channel going out. So that's depicting the breathing or pronunciation, actually the speaking probably, the speaking process. And eventually I will just view this character as breathing. So when breathing and working, okay, so if you ever work something that's super intense and microscopic, like you have to, not exactly micro, but it demands your hands to be, for example, threading a needle, okay, kind of that scale. So if you have to be fully controlled of your micro motion to have the thread going through the needle, right? And in that moment, because of how narrow range, this is not error tolerant at all, right? So if you move your hand a little bit, just a small scale, it will not throw the thread successfully. So this breathing at that moment becomes super important. So besides the tool using, this breathing, you have to control your breathing when working on something so delicate. So this symbol put together means exactly that moment, like you even consider the breathing. I guess in a lot of, like when we carry out, for example, archery, okay, I did archery before. If you want to improve your accuracy, good posture is one thing, but also breathing, like how you breathe, and that moment when you release the arrow, how that paired with your breathing. Because when you breathe, your body change, right? And you have to kind of control the airflow, or at least have a good sense of when I'm breathing, how that impact the movement of your body, so that the end result, if you're on target or not, will be affected. So that's one way that I can interpret it as breathing with workmanship. So that's how focused and delicate the task would be. And the second is I use the breathing as the airflow, or simply the flow of things. So that means if you're really focused on working something, you're in the flow, right? In contemporary English depiction, is if you are in one with the task you're working on, you're part of it. You're not like a separate entity anymore. You become part of the task. You yourself disappeared. And that's the kind of in the flow state. So this can be also viewed in that way. It's like you're working on something, but you're pretty much breathing, like use the breathing symbol to mean you're in the flow. Your airflow is smooth. There's nothing like, well, there is interruption, but it's you have your air going in and out. That's the the tensity or the tranquility even it can depict. So 心灵手巧, we use the perceptive along with the cognitive organ, and we use this Dexterous symbol along with the hand. So I guess in this phrase, it kind of shows you the relationship. If you are perceptive, that means you can understand a task, the essence of the task, quickly, and apply that understanding to your hand motion. And that way the result come out better. We all have the experience of learning to do something, right? All of us learn to do something, and each of us get like a different type of learning. We learn it in different ways, right? But if you're perceptive and you understand quickly how things work, and then the result, even if after a few tries, it can come out pretty good. So that's basically what 心灵手巧 is about. And here I want to show you the paper cutting. It's a Chinese cultural heritage, especially during the Chinese New Year. Artists, paper cutters, they use this type of scissors to create a very, very intricate patterns and come out on one piece of paper. And imagine a miscut can ruin the whole thing, right? So because there's a whole thing, it's continuous on one panel. And this, a lot of times they use on Chinese New Year season, the red color, most common is the red color paper because it symbolizes life, vitality, vibrancy, happiness, joy. Put that colored, delicately cut paper pattern on the door or window pane as a kind of almost self-blessing. So you put good symbols in it. For example, over here it looks like a fish, and fish, the sound of yu, like abundance, means you have extra. You're not living tight, check to check, American style, right? You're living with abundance, with savings. So you have safe net. So that's the ideal for Chinese. And then we have fu. Fu means happiness. And this is a plant that's considered one of the 4 major classical plants that symbolize your purity or spirituality, your high moralness, whatever. Is a good, almost like a self-messaging, because you put it out there in your living environment. Is the message going to bounce back to you, right? So you put it there, and then it's almost like a self-therapy in a sense. You put these delicately cut patterns. It's aesthetically pleasing as well, and symbolically it means carry some good messages, and it can bounce back to you. So that's Chinese paper cut. In 2009, it was classified as intangible cultural heritage. And so that's whoever can do this kind of accuracy, delicacy like that would definitely be considered as 心灵手巧. Okay, cash into the creative thinking by one word a day with Sophie. See you another day.